Hey guys, this video is going to be about processing my Ashes to Beauty experience last week. It's basically like a Christian camp, some really good revelations I think that I really wanted to share with you. And stick around till the end of the video because I put together a nice little video montage, and especially for those of you guys who are there, which is probably a handful of people that will see this video, then you can check it out and reminisce. So we'll see that all right here on this video. I wanted to make this video a week after I went to Ashes to Beauty. It's basically like a Christian camp for women. There's one for men as well. It's just outside of Lebanon, Missouri. It was an unbelievable experience. I'm going to link it in the description below for those of you guys who haven't heard of it and are interested. So I want to share one experience that I had there in particular. So as I was going to this camp for the weekend, like my experience or my mindset was, well, it wasn't set. I wasn't 100% sure what it was. I was just open. I was just ready to get out of, whatever I was going to get out of the experience. But I felt like when I got there, there was a lot of excitement that maybe I didn't really have. Like I was seeing that around me, like I was like, yeah, like I'll, take a weekend off work. We'll go to this thing, we'll check it out. We'll see how it goes. And I got there and all these women were so excited about this camp, and and I was just kind of like, I feel like I'm missing that part. Like I feel like that excitement kind of comes and goes, and I felt like at that time that maybe the reason for that excitement really coming and going was just due to that my relationship with God needed to be stronger, that I needed to just feel him more, be in his presence more, just have a stronger relationship, I mean, obviously it's just starting out, but, I think that, how do I know that I even have a relationship with God? How do I know, So that's kind of as a result of seeing the difference maybe between myself and the next woman over. And so the first night, we jump into worship. I mean, it's just Christian songs and we're singing these songs. I'm like really calling out to God during this time. It's usually just a time for worship, right? You just be singing along with the songs and you just be, I mean, I guess whatever's going on in your head, but I'm like calling out to God about this. I'm trying to set up my weekend and I'm just calling out to him like, God, I don't even really know, are we close? Are we good? I'm talking to you regularly now, but I just want to know, I just want to feel excitement, on a regular basis about our relationship, and how do I really do that? And I just want to make sure that, I guess use this weekend to develop more of a relationship with you. And so I'm pouring out these thoughts, right? And as I'm kind of pretending like I'm singing along like everybody else, but really I'm really praying. And I feel this hand on my back behind me, which, would be obviously somebody kind of praying with me, which was strange because at that moment I was like, how does anybody even know that I'm praying right now? But okay. And so that continues through the song, and so I just use it. Okay, so two people are better than one. We're both gonna, say this to God. And I turned around at the end of the song, and it's a lady that I didn't know and that I never saw again for the entire weekend. And, she kind of looked at me and almost like as if to really explain why she did that, which would be not super common during a worship song at all. And, she just looked at me and she just said, God says that you're very special. And I was like, what? I couldn't, I mean, I got chills. It was so, I've never had that happen to me ever at any point like that with a stranger during a time that was not prayer. And it was when I was calling out to God to develop a relationship with God, to ask God, do we have a relationship? What do you have to say about this? And it was bam, it was crazy. And so I realized that there were two things that really made that happen, and the first one was that I was talking to him in the first place. The second one was that I was asking for a response. God, how do you feel about this? How do I please give me some sort of answer, some sort of response here. And I think that those two things we miss a lot, and especially the asking part. You know, a lot of, as I'm exploring my Christian faith, I realize how much this stuff goes back to everything that I've learned in my life related to business. So I'm thinking about now, as I'm reflecting on this Tony Robbins story where, you know, you can YouTube it, famous video, where in one of his speeches he talks about, you know, how a homeless man once asked him for money. And I think the story went something like, he asked for $1, and the homeless man's like, please sir, can I have $1? Can I have $1? You know, and Tony Robbins like opens his wallet, and in his wallet are a lot of bills. And he's like, are you sure you just need $1? And the man's like, please, just $1 would be great. Just $1, please. You know, and Tony Robbins was like, okay, and pulls out of his wallet and hands him $1 and you know, talks about this story about how this is a metaphor for life. Like, we ask life sometimes for very little, and so we get back very little. Oh, if I could just, you know, survive today, or if I could just make enough money to pay my rent, or if I could just, right? Like, we ask for very little, and so we get back very little. Well, I'm reminded of that life lesson here with God. How often do we ask God for very little, or not even ask him really at all, right? Like, maybe we're just kind of pouring our heart out to him, but we're not asking for a response, or vice versa. I mean, it's easy to do one or the other. But I think that that story relates very much to, you know, faith and communication with God. It's, you have to talk to him and you have to ask. Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you. Everything goes back to this. Like, I know that Psalm 1 says that everyone who delights in the law of the Lord will, you know, be like a tree born of two streams, will bear fruit in season, whose leaves will never wither. Everything that they do will be prosperous. Well, what does delighting in the law of the Lord really mean? Well, Webster says that delight means to please someone greatly. To please someone greatly. Well, I mean, who are we trying to please? Obviously, it would be God, right? And what pleases God? Well, Proverbs 15:8 says the prayer of the upright is his delight. That means that when we talk to him, that pleases him. So essentially, Psalm 1 is saying that talk and ask and accordance with the law of the Lord, and then you will be like a tree born of two streams, whose leaf never withers, who bears fruit in season. Everything you do will be prosperous. I just think that so frequently we do one or the other. We don't talk to him, but we're asking all the time, why don't I have this? And why don't I have that? And I want this, but we're not actually putting that into prayer. Or we're talking to him, but we're not telling him what we want and what to give us. And he tells us that if we ask, then it is going to be given, right? It's right in Matthew 7:7 and a zillion other points in the Bible. Now there's a third point here. The third point is that we have to believe, but I'm going to save that for another video because that, I mean, we could speak for a long time on, and I've talked a lot about that in other videos. Next video to come. But that was a huge revelation that I really got there. Are you talking and are you asking? And let's conquer those two things on a regular basis first, and then we'll talk about believing. I put together that video montage, sort of, it's amateur, of some Ashes to Beauty clips, and so we'll play it right here if you're curious. If you felt like it was a good message, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, or go ahead and subscribe so that you can see the next video and be notified when it comes out. Everybody have an awesome day. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
G-I-G-I-G